As we have here in chapter 14, three very, very quick problems. The first one here is a cash receipts budget. Now, you know very clearly from our beginning chapters that revenue and how much money you getting could be two different things, right? So we could very well have sales forecasts, right? Right here, you'll see these numbers they give us, all these green numbers here they give us. You see here that sales forecasts are what your sales may be, but that's not necessarily what your cash is. Right? So in this problem, just be aware that 40% of the cash we may collect in that first month that we actually make the sale. Okay, but a good bit of it, 50%, is is collected in the next month. Okay, so if we look in specifically at this first column for September, we have 40% of this 342 is here, and 50% of this 315 is here, and then 9% of the July sales numbers are here. And then if we add these up, we get a total cash collections of 327.60. And just know that those three is how much cash you're going to actually get that month. So companies kind of keep up with how much cash is projected to be collected because they need cash to actually pay their bills. So it makes sense that they would keep up with that. And this author kind of introduces this, and I just want to make sure you guys know it by just reinforcing it with a problem here. Each one of these numbers is 40% of the present month, and then 50% of the previous month, and then the second previous month gets the 9% here, right? And then the same, like one of these 3 months are all embodied here with 40%, 50%, and 9%. And as you multiply those out, you can see how easy this kind of a problem is. But we have to keep up with what we project our cash is going to be like so we can pay our employees and pay our bills. So clearly that's important. We're going to go down here to 416. Now I wanted you to realize that these next two problems are really at the micro level. They're like budgeting microly, not macro, but micro. And so this problem 1416 is really a simple problem, but it's kind of worded a lot, kind of wordy, if you will. And what it's doing is it's asking you to come up with a cost per quart. And it gives you these kind of batch totals. So you see all this information here is given to you. So much goes into a batch of 12 quarts. So we have 15 quarts of this triphate, right, that goes into the product. Now, understand that a lot of times this triphate could very well be something that a lot of it, once they put it in process, they may lose some of it. The triphate solution could basically drift off as a part of the batch making process, right? And this so base. So if you have 15 quarts going into 12, that kind of makes sense. If a lot of spillage and residue, right, and maybe a lot of waste that happens during the process of making this batch of 12 quarts. So triphate solution then at 40 cents a quart goes in here. And so we come up with all these numbers by multiplying these out, right? And for a total cost of the batch now is $17.22. $14.35 is the cost per quart. We just divided, right, these by 12, okay? And then you need to, it says, well, what else should you consider? If you're going to budget for this particular cost per quart, and you have to consider things that are what we call are qualitative, not quantitative in nature. And it is the possibility that costs for any one of these products may be going up next year, right? Or maybe each one of them does have some kind of spillage or spoilage. Maybe they get wasted somehow during the manufacturing process. So we need to make sure that we minimize that, right? In order to kind of come up with this cost idea. Um, just it says too, how can we come up with a standard, like for direct labor, a standard for this new product? And what we can do, keep in mind, is how long does it take us to make it? And this looks like something that very well could be made, very quickly. If you had the proper machinery, you could maybe combine these three products right here in a very very quick fashion, but probably not. Probably you would need a good bit of labor to make that happen. And it depends on how many batches you run. And surely you would have to run several batches of this product, depending on how sensitive it was, and maybe how inflammatory it is. But you would kind of get a sense of how much time it took to do this and how much labor you would spend, and you would just make an estimate of the standard cost. So that's just a little bit of a budgeting micro problem for you. We got another one down here in 1418. They're asking us about a standard absorption cost per unit. So this is, again, at the per unit level. We've got some raw materials, right? We've got direct labor, and we have manufacturing overhead. And they're telling us what the cost is for all that. So we're just multiplying it out here, guys, and getting a cost per pad, right? When we make, a cost for 12 pads. So this is also a batch, all right, of 12. And what we're doing is we're just kind of multiplying them out here. So if we do that, we get these numbers, right? For direct labor, we've got this $14, and we've got to use that for 224, and then we've got 2,000 pads times 12. So we're coming up with a direct labor cost for 12 pads, right? And these numbers are given us, right? So then if you'll look here, you'll see the overhead cost is 16 direct labor hours times $18. Now take particular notice that part of this is considered fixed, okay? So this manufacturing overhead amount here is an absorption amount. That's why they call it a standard absorption of 12 pads at 3,980. Wait, $3.94 here. Okay? And so that's how much 12 pads cost once you get all these calculations done. Okay, and then it says, well, what costs are relevant? Now, this is important. You have to know, what is it that they're talking about when they say relevant cost? Okay, what is relevant? Well, relevant is how much cost is going to increase if you decide to make a decision to invest right in more product. So that's all that really means is remember the relevant range. So if it's relevant, right, it means that what costs are relevant are usually variable costs are relevant. So what we're going to do here is we're going to look here at taking out that portion of this cost of product that you came up with that is in fact fixed. So if we take the 16 direct labor hours times $8, which $8 is a fixed amount, and divided by those 2,000 pads times 12, and then we get this amount. So we can just take that away from this $3.94 here and get $3.17. So what we have to realize is that if we decide to increase the amount of pads that we're making, then we remove this from the decision making, the fixed cost, in order to make a decision as to whether or not to proceed or not. So we want to look at just the variable cost when we make that kind of a decision. And this is something that'll carry over into chapter 16, you'll see, when we start going through those problems there. But these are just three real quick problems in 14, just to kind of get you used to budgeting at the macro level and the micro level. And then we just kind of move on. This is a real short chapter with about 12 or 13 primary pages. You should be able to get through it without a problem, and then move on to chapter 16, which is a little bit bigger.